Jarome Luai. So 2 years ago, he walks into the Tigers, as the signing.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, he was the bloke that was going to change the culture, drag them off the bottom, make them relevant again. 2 years later, now he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Parramatta have got him for 1 year. Mm-hmm.
So if you don't like the bravado, the ego, the arrogance, the self-confidence that he has, you're going to enjoy this moment because now he's been let go by his club. And here's where he didn't deliver. They didn't make the finals. This season's looking pretty bad now. And of course, there's injuries and things that affect it. But he hasn't. And then he also said, I'm going to stay with this club for life. There are 3 things now which he hasn't delivered on.
I view a lot of this as hypocritical. He was probably one of the driving forces behind a level of disharmony and discontent with the Galvin
thing. Okay. Well, folks, Al and I are feeling very fresh. We are back from Brizzy, back in the studio. We chastised, we antagonised a bunch of Queenslanders, clipped up some amazing content as we debated and argued for Nathan Cleary being a future Origin legend. And indeed, he was. We've got plenty to discuss in this episode. We're going to wrap up a little bit of Origin. There's obviously huge news with Jarome Luai, the Parramatta Eels and the West Tigers. We're going to break down what's happening there as well as the media narrative around it. There's some exciting games to preview this weekend. We're going to look as well as if your team's going to make the top 8, as well as some juicy odds at the end of the episode. Alex, how you going, mate? You feeling good?
I'm feeling fresh, like you said.
Yeah.
We've got a good episode lined up here, actually. This is some good talking points. But Origin, quickly, We're back, like you said. It was a great campaign. Brisbane was amazing. Being able to antagonise Queenslanders is one of my favourite pastimes.
100%.
All right, the dust has settled. We're back in NRL routine now. Now that sort of because we did our episode fresh off the game.
Yes.
Minutes after it finished.
We did.
How do we feel now that that's all kind of, settled a little bit and we've come back down to earth? Has any of your views changed? Has anything sort of...
I think, what the major thing I feel is I can now really feel for Laurie Daly on how much he carried and how difficult it was for him. And I immediately put up an apology post as soon as New South Wales won. But it was still this guy actually really copped it. And you could see even some of his family members, people that were really close to him and what they were saying. You could tell that Loz really was carrying the weight. And because he won, it makes me feel even worse because he truly vindicated himself with that result. And he's actually vindicated himself going head-to-head with Billy Slater. He's 3-all now.
Yes.
So the first thing I felt like was I actually want to get his details and just say, sorry, man, I whacked you a fair bit. I also defended you in some points, but for the most part, I whacked you. That's my overarching feeling is geez, we look a little bit silly now. Even though in many ways we were right, it doesn't matter. Whoever wins gets to own the narrative. That's my major takeaway. As well as, geez, there should be more scrutiny on Billy Slater.
Yeah, yes. Billy Slater has been able to avoid a lot of scrutiny for some reason. I think what he's produced over the last 3 series is some of the worst Origin outcomes.
Yeah.
When you take the narrative into account that we've seen in a while. My kind of feeling is, when I look back, I re-watched our episodes for Origin.
Yeah.
Ahead of game 1, 2, and 3. We said a lot of things. We said a lot of things. I kind of feel like though, when it was all said and done, we had a pretty fair assessment heading into game 1. I think it was honest and real, and and then game 2. I came to his defense on some of them, and you were quite strong on sort of other points. Hamoli as an example of that, and a few other things. And we got flogged, but then you came to his defense a little bit heading into game 3, which we won. So I thought the back and forth that we had was fairly okay and reasonable.
I don't think firstly, Laurie Daly actually doesn't give a shit about you and I.
No,
but we are part of the broader punditry, even if we're on the fringes of it, and we were hammering him, and some of our stuff gets clipped up and gets a fair amount of views, so you don't know who it's reaching. We did hammer him, but at the same time, we weren't off base, to be honest.
No,
that may be a couple of things we were a bit too pointed, but it was worthy of criticising what was going on, and we weren't in the minority on that.
No,
I think what for Laurie, what's coming out now is I think that story about him having speeches that put players to sleep, I think really offended him. And here's my reason why. And I actually thought, I was debriefing Laurie's presser. By the way, an incredible amount of grace and poise shown by him. He could have really rammed it down everyone's throats that he's a good coach. And instead he actually said, and I actually thought, I did a bit of psychoanalysis on Laurie Daly. When he was asked about his coaching credentials, he says, I'm not a coach, I'm a leader. And I actually thought he had done it gave me an insight into that what he had done to frame his identity to get through this series was to say, it doesn't matter about my coaching. It matters if I'm a leader that can inspire the troops. And that's why I also think his speeches putting players to sleep would have cut him to his core because the identity he was working from is that I'm a great leader. And then if you look at how the players performed and responded when their leader was being attacked and maligned, it kind of does show he probably is a great leader.
It's a pretty good take, actually. And it explains now, that would explain why it cut him to the quick so much. He would have taken so much offense because that's how 100% he would have viewed himself. Wow.
So I think that's his major one. I think he was suggesting it was planted, that story. That's what he kind of said. These things get planted in the media, as you know.
Do you believe that?
I think it's possible. I don't probably believe it, to be honest. I think it's possible. I do think, though, he has been pretty gracious in calling people out.
It could have been a lot worse. But you could see the fire in his belly, for sure. You know that, and then he's gone on a bit of a media.
Show some balls is good, like the guys that were hammering him.
Yeah.
And he's like, they're not here. No one's ever here to face the music. He always has to. But again, that's the role of the coach. It's not the journo's role to show up to every presser.
No, exactly.
Well done, Laurie. Congrats, mate.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We look to next year now. Who the coach is going to be is an open question.
Awesome call for him to go out in a high.
Yes.
He'll never have a losing record to Billy Slater now. So every time we talk about Billy Slater, you can now say, well, he was even Stevens with Laurie Daly.
He George Costanza'd it, and so he should. So he
Love
should.
it.
He should. All right. Now, enough of Origin.
Okay, we're done.
I'm out Origin.
Okay.
Let's talk about the story of the week.
Yes, huge.
Jarome Luai. So 2 years ago, he walks into the Tigers, as the signing.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, he was the bloke that was going to change the culture, drag them off the bottom, make them relevant again 2 years later. Now he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Parramatta have got him for 1 year. Just stopover, it looks like. And then he's going to be the face of PNG after that. And the way it's all come out this week, it's like, it just kind of feels like there's so much going on the surface.
I think there's so much to break down. I reckon we break down the Luai part, then the West Tigers part.
I got some takes on this as well.
And then let's break down the Parramatta and the West Tigers part together. So the Luai part.
Yep.
So Jarome Luai, it depends on if you like his personality or not, is going to inform a lot of people's takes. Mm-hmm. So if you don't like the bravado, the ego, the arrogance, the self-confidence that he has, you're going to enjoy this moment because now he's been let go by his club. Like, you're going to enjoy that he's been told you're surplus to needs, you're taking up too much cap, you're not that much of a superstar, go play somewhere else, you're leaving us anyway. I think Jarome Luai does pay the price for being that confident, and I think on some level you should. If you talk a big game and then don't deliver, and here's where he didn't deliver. They didn't make the finals. This season's looking pretty bad now, and of course there's injuries and things that affect it, but he hasn't. And then he also said, I'm going to stay with this club for life. And then he also said team first. So if he says, we're going to bring this team to finals, I'm going to stay with this club for life, team first narrative with Lockie Galvin. There are three things now which he hasn't delivered on. He's clearly not team first because he's moving on from the team. Yep. He hasn't delivered them to finals, and he's clearly not staying with them for life. So when you talk a big game, it's similar to me when I'm an obnoxious Manly fan and I pump Manly online. You're going to cop heat backwards because you've taken a stand and then you have to deliver on what you said you would do. So I think it's unfortunate for him that, well, it's his choice. You're just living with your consequences, baby, right? Yeah, live with your choices, Jarome. You chose to be big, brave, and have a big voice, and now you're taking your licks. What I would say, though, is that he has definitely changed the club culture. He certainly brought a leadership. He certainly made West Tigers cool again. If they were ever cool in the first place, that is to be debated. He actually brought a great influence. He brought some players in. He lifted the standards. There's a lot to say that Jarome's tenure at the Tigers has been successful without living up to the hype. I don't think he was terrible, but I don't think he lived up to the hype.
I have mixed feelings. I've gone through a bit of a transformation on my view of the whole situation. I've always been a staunch Luai supporter.
I know you love Luai, and I've loved him.
I think I think he was, an exceptional club player for Penrith. I um I I thought that what he did for Samoa is incredible.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true. Yeah, that
when
doesn't count for Tigers though. But yeah.
no,
Oh,
no,
you're
as a
building up the
player,
Luai narrative.
as a player,
Yeah, gotcha.
as a player.
Yeah.
And I from my time with him
Mm.
around the Blues, you know, he wasn't like a leader, but he was definitely a culture guy.
Yeah.
For sure.
He brought the noise. He brought the energy, the enthusiasm.
And he would feed off of that, and the coach would feed off of his energy too, and that was always a great dynamic. And when he's played for New South Wales, he's really always mostly delivered. For the most part, as an individual player, he hasn't let us down, in my opinion, contrary to some of the popular belief. With all of that said, when I was a big supporter when he went to the Tigers, I thought that he was going to be a club changer for them. I would have probably lived with the results at the end of the day if it wasn't for how it all transpired.
Okay.
I view, unfortunately, a lot of this as like incredibly hypocritical. I don't agree with, and there were a lot of things about sort of what went on in and around the Tigers and the Sheds when the Galvin stuff was going on.
Yeah.
And how Luai was reportedly, acting, and some of the social media posts,
Yeah.
and this, that, and the other. I'm just gonna come out and say it. From my experience with him, I can 100% imagine how that would have gone.
Yeah.
How he would have been operating and acting, and there would have been. My read on it is there's truth to it. I think that he was probably one of the driving forces behind a level of disharmony and discontent with the Galvin
thing.
situation.
Okay, yeah. Can I jump in there?
Of course.
So, I think he cops too much of a rap for the Galvin thing. It wasn't.
Oh.
Here's why. Galvin and his manager came in and hammered the coach. So we've got to remember that Luai is a leader in this club and trying to be a cultural architect, trying to shape and change the culture, which must require unity and full belief in the coach. So when this negative voice comes in, there's a few ways you can deal with it. I'm not suggesting the way he dealt with it was the best way, but a leader needs to take charge of the troops, of the culture that's in there, needs to back the coach. That's what the coach needed, and that's what the club needed. They didn't need we're okay with Lockie. And we always are that's the PR response we always get, and we often know it's not true when there's a problematic player.
Yeah.
Everyone's quietening it down, but instead he took a stand. And remember, his coach has copped it so much. Before that, Benji was being called, about a year before, was being called the lazy coach by Bulldog Richie, right?
Yeah.
So Benji's copped it a lot. He was standing up for his mate and standing up for his leader. I like that.
Yeah.
It's probably what I would do. If you are coming against what we're about and you're coming after someone I love and respect, I'm going to destroy you.
That's fine. And I don't so much have a problem with that. I think there's honor in that, for sure. And you should back your coach. You should back your mates. But then to be such a catalyst for the downfall at the same time, after you came out so heavily against the behaviors of Lockie Galvin, who was, at the end of the day, Lockie Galvin isn't his manager. Lockie Galvin isn't his agent. He is. He's just a kid.
100%, man. I get it.
And so, he's in a new situation now. Whether that's better for him, worse for him, whether he would have been better off being the long-term, 5'8" or half.
It wasn't working. Here's what I'll say. I think what Jarome did was right in the moment in terms of what was needed for the club.
Yeah.
I don't think what he's done overall. I think he's undermined that part.
So that's
his decisions.
That's my point. That hypocrisy.
Yeah. It's
I
an
don't like that.
inconsistency.
I don't like that social injustice of that situation.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair whack.
And I think with obviously the damage that's done, and I don't really care what Benji, in my view, Benji's protesting too much. I can see when he comes out, and he's filthy, and he's talking about, you've made this into World War X.
Yeah.
I look at it as mate.
Oh, you saw that as too defensive.
Yes.
I actually saw that. Okay, that's fair enough. Because I think I see Benji as a straight shooter and not a manipulator of narrative, really. I think he has a disposition to call out when the narrative's being manipulated. and go, oh, no, you're saying this, it's this, or I know where you're going with this question, or I'm not going to answer that question because I know what you're doing here. I think he calls it out all the time. I think he's one of the straightest shooters in the game. So when he comes out and says there's nothing wrong with Jarome, there's nothing wrong with me and Jarome, you've built up this narrative, you're making it up, you don't know.
Right.
I'm inclined to believe that.
Okay, so you don't see where there's smoke, there's fire with this situation. Bear in mind,
I think there is smoke. I think it's a different fire. As in, I don't think it's a breakdown of relationship between Benji and Jarome, at least on the professional level, right? So I'm saying, like, I think they're respecting each other. I don't think they're conniving. I don't think, at least on Benji's side, there's no sinister play. He's not being conniving. I think it's just a professional reality that hurts Jarome.
Yep. Yeah. He might not be conniving, but so what do you make then of, like, Luai's dad? He's out there engaging with posts that hint at a falling out between Jarome and the club, and then Benji's answer to that is like, I'm a dad, I get it. Of course, he's going to
I get
sons.
that. Yeah,
that kind of.
I think it's more likely that Jerome's dad's been unreasonable than Benji and Luai are biffing.
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't think that it's a flow-on effect? Like, you don't think that anything's going on and his dad's reacting to...
Of course, I'm not denying there's not a difficult situation.
Right.
But I don't think there's this huge breakdown that's going on.
Okay.
Because Benji's denied it and he's been pretty clear and forceful with it. So I think Jerome's being a little immature with his social media.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
but immaturity is not the same as huge divisiveness. He's just a man not handling his emotions properly and communicating in an emotionally intelligent way. Which happens so often, particularly in rugby league.
Of course,
yeah.
Yes.
Like,
I just wonder because I do think that, okay, so nothing. Fine, let's for argument's sake, it's mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah,
so
storm
then,
in a teacup.
So then he's the $1.2 million player provides no value to the club next season. Is that like the position?
I think I get that. I totally get that decision from
you get that
Tigers.
Okay.
Yeah, here's why I get it. They've got a plan for the future. So Jarome was on board. He was no longer on board. We have players we want to get or keep who are on board. Let's put the money to those players and lock them down. And you've got to understand how difficult, and not you, Al, just anyone that's watching, is like how difficult it is to keep players at the moment with the Bears out there, with the Chiefs out there with their salary cap exemptions or their tax-free exemptions. So there's a lot of pressure on clubs to lock down their great talent, and they're very anxious to do that. So I understand why the Tigers have made the decision to move him on. There's a narrative that hasn't been talked about at all, and I don't know for sure if this has happened, but this is very much looking like what's called shoulder tapping, which is against the anti-tampering rules in the NRL, where they've actually tapped Jarome on the shoulder to say, look elsewhere. But Jerome's fulfilling the terms of his contract. He had clauses. So they put the clauses in.
Yeah, they did.
The club has to live with that. And as it always happens, though, the club always has the power. So the $1.2 million star man, even though he's one of their best players and been a star for them and he's on the biggest salary, he's been tapped to go somewhere else. So I think it's in the Tigers, if it's mutually beneficial for both parties, then the Tigers are within their right to tap him on the shoulder. And I understand why they want to move him on.
Do they become a better club without him?
Not now or next year,
okay.
but they have set themselves up now to be a better club in 2-3 years' time.
Right.
Because now they're locking down the Fainu brothers. They're locking down these kind of players.
So I think
they aren't better, though, because I think people are overestimating and overinflating how good a Jock Madden and Adam Dewey halves combination is.
Yes.
It's worked.
Yeah.
But these are not star halves.
No, I agree with you.
And
I love Adam Dewey.
Dewey has the potential.
Yes.
But his injuries betray him.
So where does this leave the Luai Tigers legacy and everything surrounding it? Like, some people are of the opinion that, well, this was a great big waste.
Yeah, I 100% don't think that. I think he's totally built the reputation and the self-esteem of the West Tigers.
Right.
I think it's not just him. I think Benji's been super involved with that. I think Richo did a decent job of getting the players in. I think this new CEO, Milkamp, comes with a significant amount of raps and reputation. I don't think this is the same West Tigers as of old, where it's just a basket case. I think they'll get through this pretty well. I think for numerous reasons, they've got the right administrators, they've got the right coach, they've got some experienced players still around the group who can galvanise the team together. I don't think it'll go the same way. I think this is more, and this is what a lot of West Tigers fans are saying, this is the media build-up. This is a huge club that gets a lot of headlines, that a lot of the animosity that's being spun is the result of media speculation and not necessarily the playing group.
I was trying to look at it just from a results perspective because, sometimes you see some of the performances and I don't know, like when the Tigers got spanked, like so
crazily. That was terrible.
One of the worst losses I've ever seen from them. And then I look at 2016 to 20, so just last 10 years, the Tigers' average wins per season in that span, if you take out the 2 Luai years, was 7.8 per season.
What time period is this? 2010?
2016.
2016. Okay.
2026, but then you take out the last 2, so the 8 before that. 7.8 wins per season with an average ladder finish of 12.8th, so almost 13th.
Yeah, okay.
And then you look at the Luai era, they're averaging 9 wins and they've been 13th in each season. Yeah. So it's basically
about the
almost
same.
exactly
I
the
think
same.
Though that data range works, but if you go back 5 years, we have 3 spoons.
That's right. Yeah.
And I've been tracking how it's been. I tracked Benji's coaching record. They've been improving year on year. So if they started at spoon, then they went to second or third last, then they went to 12th last year, I think. They may end up around 12th again. Okay. So it's not stellar improvement. But one thing about this year's, when it comes to the narrative of the West Tigers, they absolutely started fantastically. They were looking really good. Then what happened? And then made a serious amount of injury. They got really depleted. So that certainly impacted them as well.
Okay. Are we, just so I'm 100% clear?
Yeah.
They're 2 of their last 10?
Yeah.
Is that it? It's just, in your mind, this whole thing's just injuries, really.
No, there's mental weakness too. I'm not saying the club is fully sorted. I'm not saying this is a great team.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's better than it's been. I'm saying it's a better club than it's been. That's all.
And
still not acceptable. You should demand more, but they're much better than where they've been.
Where do we think Parramatta are going to go now?
So I was saying to you before the episode started. This is the meeting of 2 incompetent clubs sharing the star.
Such a good take.
A lot of Para fans are in my comments deluded, going, "This is the right signing. We're going to have Lorenzo next year. This all worked." I've got to break this down because when Jonah Pezzett was signed for 1 year for the Eels, Riles and the Parramatta Eels, the narrative was, we've just got him for 1 year because we've got a future plan and it's all going to work out. That 1 year has passed and now they're signing Jarome Luai. And if you look at it in isolation, yeah, sure, you're going to take a star half at $700,000 a year. But what about the long-term thinking? Doesn't it reflect that the long-term planning and organisation and strategy from Parramatta's recruitment has failed? Because they've had to... There's simply no way that the Parramatta Eels could have predicted that once Pezzett's contract was over, that Jarome Luai could come in. So they've been opportunistic. It's a tick on being adapting to the situation. But what's going on with your recruitment? Because you're just kicking... Parramatta are just kicking the can down the road. Now, Lorenzo may have promise, but he's unproven. And from all reports, he's not thriving in Cup. So he's going to need some years to continue to develop to be a good player. Why isn't the money that was available for Jarome Luai going to attracting actual marquee talent that you can lock down? My theory is you must have 3 marquee players in your side to be competitive for the title and even to make the 8. They have 1. They've not been able to recruit any since Dylan Brown moved on. That is not new news. It's not a new thing that Dylan Brown is gone. Parramatta have missed out on Cherry.
Yep.
And now they're talking about, well, we're going to get Lenu and we're going to get Howarth. These are not marquee players. They've been discarded from their previous clubs if that occurs. So I think this is like a sugar hit or a Band-Aid that covers that Parramatta's still in serious recruitment deficit. Yep. They're not able to get star talent. And getting Luai for a year won't suddenly become, let's all go join, because he's moving on the next year. No one's joining for Lorenzo as well. People are saying that they've got to take advantage of Moses in their premiership window. They're not in a premiership window. It's failed.
Yeah.
Now, I know Parramatta fans hate getting slammed on, right? They hate when people keep slamming on their club that they're not doing well. But their club isn't doing well. So I actually think Parramatta are in a worse place than the West Tigers. Because the West Tigers are locking down their marquee talent. You'd say Terrell May is one. You'd say one of the finers, I can't remember which one now, is a marquee talent. You'd say Uppy Coruscant is a marquee talent. You'd say Jareen Buller is a marquee talent, or at least on the precipice of being a marquee player, similar to Hamiso Tabuai-Fido's career. So the West Tigers have far more potential and promise than the Eels do. The Eels can't get anyone to commit long term. And when I say that, I mean, of course, they got Moses too, but marquee talent isn't coming to you. So I actually think that the narrative right now is that Parramatta have done really well out of this deal. I think it's a deluded narrative. I think it's a Band-Aid over Parramatta's deep, problematic recruitment issues. That's my take.
It's a very good take. And you know what? You said that, Parramatta fans, they don't like to be slammed on, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you have taken a look at some of the social media comments from Parramatta fans on their posts about the signing.
Yeah.
I reckon you did a sentiment analysis, so it was like 70% negative.
Yeah, sure. I had a few
Maybe
in
80.
mind that were like, no, this is all going to work. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are like, what's the club doing?
Yeah. And I think that if we're in this situation where, okay, we acknowledge that recruitment problems, mismanagement, et cetera, Band-Aid, is this the best available Band-Aid though? Like, of all the options that they had at their disposal for...
Right. Well, I'm like, yeah, so there's two things there. We don't know what else is on offer, but they need forwards. They need star forwards. They need a pack that's mobile, fit, and able to last a season and actually do some damage to teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the argument of we're focusing on our juniors and the players coming up through our system. That's important, but you still need great players, and I don't think they have that in their forwards. So people will say, well, there was no one on the market, but you've just decided, well, we're definitely not going to find anyone for next season because we've got Jarome Luai. I just think the Parramatta Eels are stuffing up on recruitment.
Do you have any expectations of... Because, I mean, we've seen the Moses-Luai combo at rep level before.
I think it could be good.
Exquisite.
But you're a team... Halves are only as good as their pack.
Right.
If Nathan Cleary's playing behind... And we saw this in Origin. When Nathan Cleary's generally going to be a future immortal, when he was playing behind a deeply underperforming pack that was getting dominated, he had very little material impact on the game. I think the same will be true for the Eels.
It's it makes me wonder as well when we look at, because we did a new look post as well yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. It was good.
So we got Luai, Moses, Sua joins, and I think is Jack Howarth also?
He's an option. It's not locked in, and Lenu's also on the radar.
Right. Let's say they landed everyone there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's their team, and they've still got Josh Addo-Carr who's playing exceptionally well given his age and the point of his career. That squad, where does that finish?
Okay, well, let me say about all those players that you named, only none of those players are in the best point of their career.
Yeah.
Only Josh Addo-Carr is performing above the average of his career.
Yes.
The rest of them are having below average seasons.
Right.
So they've just signed guys at their worst performing. So it could work. Riles could be a magician or a great coach and get the best out of his talent. But all the names that are being suggested to go to the Eels are underperforming. Their clubs don't want them. They're getting the discards. They're getting the offcuts. So I don't think this fills me with promise.
Poetic. Beautiful.
Sometimes I do that
They're
when
getting
I
the
don't
offcuts.
I do that sometimes when I don't know what I'm going to say yet.
No, it was
Next,
good.
I drop
Right.
into tautologies and keep saying the same word in a different way. But what I'm getting
Never
at
change.
is that that's not exciting.
Yep.
That's not good evidence that, wow, this is going to turn the season around. You guys want Nathan Brown from Manly as well?
Yeah. Well,
Drive-by on Brownie.
He's
Actually been playing all right.
That was really unfair on the great man, who was also exceptional for Parramatta when he played for them as well. He was an Origin player.
Have him back then. Have him back when he's crap.
So
Give us your worst performers. That's Parramatta's recruitment statement. Give us your worst performers.
that's a clip. That's a clip. Let's talk about, that was a drive-by. Now, you've had a few other drive-bys.
Yeah.
Your most notable drive-by is what you have done to the Dolphins. I don't know if I can see. It's hard for me to see the Dolphins putting it all together for another 10 rounds.
Sorry, I forgot my most important piece of evidence for why they can.
Okay.
So if you survey all the teams in the top 8 and or even the top 10, even the top 12, or just all the teams, I don't know what I'm doing here, right? So every single team, and if you there's a document that I've surveyed that shows you what players they have out for the rest of the season. Mm-hmm. The Dolphins have no one. They have no long-term injuries for the rest of the season. Like, everyone's pretty much fit. You've got a little niggle, I think, for Gilbert with his throat and Sarko's finger, but he already's been playing.
Yeah.
There's literally no one out. No one has an ACL. No one has a knee injury. No one has a hamstring. No one has a calf. No one has syndesmosis. It is a clean slate. I don't know what they've done with their strength and conditioning. They're probably not training at Heffron Park like the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Whatever it is, the Dolphins have a clean slate, which means I think they're going to come home even stronger because so many other teams are battling injuries. Penrith are not in the same place. They're the only other team in that top 8 that look really solid. So I actually think the Dolphins have got a real red-hot crack of going second.
I don't know what witchcraft.
Talk about a jinx.
This will go down as one of the worst jinxes, I think.
I have people in my comments, Dolphin fans in my comments, saying, "I hope you stub your toe every day."
Yeah, I mean, I felt it in the moment, but then not even I could see the level of depth that this would descend into.
Yeah,
they after they had their loss, and then obviously they had oh, my brain.
Katoa injury. Yeah,
sorry. Katoa gone for that big stretch. Then they go on to have the heaviest defeat in club history, scoreless, a Sarko record gone, and it was against the Sharks, the most mid-club somehow. I just
what's going wrong?
Talk to me. I mean, this obviously hurts beyond the 2 points. That the for and against.
It's the for and against, right? So they've halved it. They've halved their points differential in one game. So I think it's totally acceptable that the Dolphins lost when they had all of their origin stars out.
Yeah.
I think it's acceptable as well that when Katoa is injured that you're not going to be as dominant a team. But to go from 8 straight and building up your points differential after losing so much in the beginning of the season, you've done the hard work of getting back into being a highly competitive team who I thought were going to be second place.
We both agreed as well.
I thought they were really on track there, man.
Yeah.
They were looking amazing. Now, when you take all your stars out, you're going to lose. But to lose by 66 points, you've really damaged your season. I think they're put in jeopardy now that I don't think they're going to make the top 4 with that points differential. And Katoa's not back.
No.
So maybe I'm doing the reverse jinx now. Maybe I'm saying Dolphins can't make the top 4.
You've saved them.
And now they're going to go back into the top 4. I think it really hurt them.
Seeing them drop from that to 7th, on the ladder. I mean, we'll get into our top 8 in a little bit, but do you kind of feel like? I mean, you said that top 4's in jeopardy. Is top 8 in jeopardy?
I don't think top 8's in jeopardy because if Katoa comes back at the right time of the year, this is still a very good team. The best back 3 in the comp. They had so many players out. I think you flush that result. It does material damage to your for and against, but outside of that, flush the result. It wasn't your full team. You weren't playing horrific. You weren't playing to a level. You weren't playing to a level where you lose 66-0. Like they weren't that bad. And also the Sharks were on fire. Like
they were in there.
This was a game set up for Nico Hines to get confidence. And so it's going to really help him.
Yeah.
So there's a few ingredients at play that I just think flush it.
Okay.
I think they make the top 8 for sure.
Obviously, Hammer out, Cobbo out, Bostock not playing. That definitely doesn't excuse that type of loss, but it does sort of raise an interesting question and something that you've talked about before as well. What Origin does to the NRL during this period.
Yeah.
Is it? Do you think it's problematic?
Honestly, I love footy. I study. I look up stats in my spare time. That's how much of a freaking nerd I am, and how much I love this game. I love looking at all this kind of stuff. I love the game. I love Origin. But every time about this time of year, from like round 19 to round 17 even to round 22, 23, I lose interest. And so many of my mates,
after the Origin period.
So many of my mates lose interest too because it takes a little bit of while to get back into it because you've been burned out by watching footy. But it's some of these games in New South Wales Cup.
Yeah.
And you're not seeing 40 of your superstars playing for 2 or 3 games in this period. It's also winter. It's a harder time. Like you're just less excitable in general. And I just think we've got to do something as a game. I think there'd be so many casual fans or even rusted on fans that lose interest at this time of year because the quality of product isn't as good. So we've got to do something with this Origin break. We talk about it all the time, but it just goes for too long and it damages the quality of the regular season.
Are you just kind of flagging this, or do you have like a solution?
I have an idea. I was thinking of an idea. So in the new broadcast arrangement,
the
only condition is that Origin needs to be on a Wednesday night. What about this? Origin is still gonna impact the regular season, but can we minimize it so that the regular season becomes a higher value product?
Okay.
So what we could do is Origin is essentially a 4-week program.
Right.
So you go in a week before camp or 10 days before camp or whatever it is. You play game 1. The week next, you play game 2. The week after that, you play game 3. And so that's essentially 4 weeks. And on that, you make sure every single team has a bye round in the middle of that Origin period. So Origin game 2, that's a full bye round. You lose some players in the lead up to game 1 and some players to the lead up at the end of game 3. But it actually only means that 2 NRL fixtures are fully impacted by Origin. And for the rest of the season, all the stars that are fit are available. So that would mean that New South Wales and Queensland pick 25 or 30-man squads for the Origin period.
Okay.
And if they're not in the 20, they go back to play for their club for that games for the weekend if the club wants that. So then we're pulling from more players, but that's your squad.
Yeah.
We're not doing team lists every single game. It's just that's the squad. That's it.
That does make it that is interesting to me because it does generate additional chatter around players that are fringe Origin essentially, which we kind of miss. It's like such a clean cutoff. You miss a whole bunch of guys in the conversation. You can now insert them. Yeah. I think that's a positive. This reminds me of the 2020 bubble structure. So they ran this exact thing. It was it was a 25-man squad. All of your Origin players were essentially selected from those 25 men, and then they played over a 5-week period. And it was the 3 games were 1 week, the next week, and the next week. Whilst that was
one of those was on a Sunday though, if I remember, was it?
Was it?
I think so. There was a random Sunday game called. Anyway, I'm
could be
distracting you.
I can't. I actually can't quite remember. I do remember though that it was basically like the only downside of this is that players seem to feel a certain level of burnout. With those quick turnaround for an Origin level performance, and it meant that they really couldn't play at their best. They felt like. I don't know whether that's like just. Like if that even matters, where it's like, well, at the end of the day, this is what the product needs to be, and that's what you're paid to do.
Correct.
So you kind of just need to suck it up. Yeah. But
I think it's okay. It's a good point, and I think it's an adjustment period. So maybe quality of Origin for a year or two won't be at the same heights for game 2 and 3. Yeah. But these are professionals. Yeah. They're not playing for their club when they go back because they're in camp the whole time. Essentially, get it done. I actually think there's a lot to gain from that. I suppose from a broadcast perspective, that bye weekend when no teams is playing, that could be a real issue. I don't know how you would navigate that. I haven't thought about how to get around the commercial impact of that yet. Yep. But I think what it would mean, though, is that your product throughout the season is going to be of much higher quality. Because we're essentially looking at 6 to 8 rounds of the competition get negatively affected by Origin. Can we limit that to 3? Can we halve the impact?
Yeah. I might be the minority here, but I've never viewed that Origin period the same way in terms of getting that burnout, because I've always looked at it like in that time, how people always say, your club's not one player or your club's not this, you're a team and the club needs to be I always see it as opportunities for the unsung heroes of the teams to be able to step up, and it provides an opportunity. It doesn't get capitalized on enough, but it provides many opportunities for players to kind of shine, come out of the woodwork, and step up to the plate. A memorable one for me was when it was around 2021, and it was when Penrith had been completely gutted. So they had the half of the Blues team was Penrith, and it was Matt Burton who then had to take. He wasn't part of the squad. He had to take over Penrith, and over those games, he was playing like Dally M level football. Yeah. And he was controlling, he was running the whole thing. And that gave him, I think, the chutzpah that was required for him to be the man for the Bulldogs and make that move. And that spawned an entire other team.
I understand what you're saying, but there's too few of those stories.
Yes.
I think I'm going the more
I do admit that.
Utilitarian route or the pragmatic route of overall, the quality's lower. If you're taking 40 stars out 3 times a year, sometimes 4, possibly 5 if there's an injury, if they need to be rested, 40 stars out of the product, it's much less marketable. Yeah. You're having to market the New Zealand talent because there's no one else around that's high quality.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do concede that it's few and far between. It's just that it has also felt like those moments when they happen feel special.
Yeah, they are special. They could still occur, though. There's still going to be 1 or 2 rounds where that happens. But most of the time, we're just seeing New South Wales Cup players or also Rans guys at the end of their career getting their run because the team has no one else.
Yeah. And look, the damaging effects are clear. What happened to the Dolphins is, that probably wouldn't have happened.
No. And that's the thing; it's not an even playing field either. So the Dolphins have 5 or 6 Origin stars, so they get hammered there. Whereas some team and the Roosters have 5 or 6, whereas some teams have none. The Tigers, the Eels.
Yeah.
The Eels have Moses now, but so you see what I'm saying is like it's not fair. It's also just not equal.
Well,
that if you're a good team who's recruited well and has great players and depth, your form line is now being affected by being good.
Yeah,
I think it's a bit of there's unfairness there.
Yeah, it is a little bit. Let's get on to the ladder predictor. We've been talking about it all episode.
Yes,
we've got our top 8 as it stands currently: Penrith, Warriors, Roosters, Sharks, Knights, South Dolphins, North Queensland, the Cowboys. Interesting top 8 there. Not what I would have probably imagined at this point of the season. A few big shifts. What are you looking at from a predictor perspective for your top 8? And I'll give you mine.
Yeah, okay. So I went on Code. There's also NRL Code Sport. But I went on the ladder predictor, went through some games. I've got some really interesting thoughts here. So my top 4 would be Panthers, Warriors, Sharks, Dolphins. Still think they could make it. I still rate the Dolphins a lot. 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th would be Knights, Roosters, Cowboys, and this is the contentious one, Storm.
Right.
I think the Storm are going to sneak into the top 8 and Manly may make their way out. And what would be crazy about that is that Manly it's very unlikely unless they get flogged a couple of times, which just doesn't seem to be what happens to Manly this season. Manly may have the 4th best points differential in the competition and end up out of the 8 because they've just lost too many close games.
I had a gaffe on the podcast several episodes ago, a while back.
What did you say?
A miss here on my part. In my mind, I was asked about whether Melbourne were going to be top 8.
Yeah.
And offer a price. And
Yes.
for whatever reason,
Yeah.
I had in my head top 4. And I gave the price for that, and it looked completely and utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, okay.
Now,
yeah,
it's not that crazy. Like that, I don't actually have them in my top 8. I have them missing by 1.
Okay.
Yes, by 1 place.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to 1 win or 2. Like Manly, here's what's in Manly's favour. Their points differential is phenomenal. They've been defending games very, very well, and that's keeping them alive in the 8. But you have to win games, and they're just not doing it. They've lost at least 3 games they should have won, and 2 of those they really should have won if they just kicked goals.
I haven't seen this season. I haven't felt like Hughes and Munster as a combo have put it together very well, but now Munster's not even there.
Yeah. So the Storm, though, are worthy of respect. They've played pretty well. They had 1 bad loss against Manly in recent memory. Other than that, they've been winning, and I think 1 loss to the Dogs when they were completely depleted by, there it is again, Origin. So they're looking really good, man. They could really make a crack. I know losing Munster's big for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't think that completely derails their season. Sometimes they actually play better without him.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of feels like I love Wishart, by the way.
Yeah, I love Wish as well. Because Hughes has to step up. So I think they're spoilt with Farlongo, Grant, and Hughes. Yes, you lose 1 great player, but that doesn't mean they're a terrible spine at all.
Yeah,
that spine, even with Wishart, is probably still a top 4 spine.
I've got, and we'll throw these up on the screen as well, the boards. But I've got obviously Penrith, minor premiership lock. Done in my opinion, and then I've got Warriors, Roosters, Sharks as your locks.
Yeah,
the should holds for me, and the next places I've got Souths, then Newcastle. Do we know when Latrell's coming back yet? It's still unclear.
No, and could it be forever?
Yeah, This is based on him returning in say 2 weeks or a week, and then the next spots I got Dolphins still.
Yeah.
And then I've got Manly, Storm, Cowboys.
So what's Manly at 7th?
Manly would be at 8th.
8th. Okay. So Cowboys missed the 8 too.
Yeah, I've got
I think Cowboys are looking good.
Really?
I think they're looking good.
I've got them. I've got Dolphins.
There's Dearden's to come back as well.
Yeah. This is my predictor.
Okay. Yeah.
But I've got them just outside Manly lifting.
Yeah, well, again, it's going to be dicey. I think Manly have to beat the Titans. If they don't beat the Titans, I would say season over. And it's going to be crazy because if they lose to the Titans, it'll be like by 4 points, and they're going to end up with one of the best points differentials in the comp and not make the 8.
Yeah, Let's actually talk about that for a second
Mhm.
because we were talking about this in the office as well, and we were talking about Manly
Mhm.
essentially in a slump, and I said to Drew, "Look, there's slumps and then there's slumps,
Yeah.
and you can tell by the quality of the loss and the manner in which you lose, and that speaks volumes about the trajectory from that point forward. The inability to close
Yeah.
is, I think, really, really damning
Yeah.
because they are within reach. It's not like it's just a form slump. It's like you actually technically,
Should have won.
yes,
Yeah.
and you don't actually
On the
have
stats line. Yeah.
twice now. You don't have the
Yeah.
ability to get it done in ones where you really should have. I wonder for players like Fogarty who are veterans.
Mhm.
It's like they're not going to change by the end of the season. They're not going to I've got it.
I think there are 2 games. My stats might be wrong here, but 2 games that Manly have lost in the past month. One game, the goal kicking was at 25%, and one game it was at 33%. Or they might have both been 25%. These are 2 games that should have been won: Bulldogs and Cowboys. But then if you look at Manly's record this year, they've actually played 3 golden point games, I think 3, and lost all 3.
Yeah.
So there's a clutch element missing there, and that's probably the DCE difference.
Yeah.
And so people are using this to hammer on Fogarty, but I actually think he's been a great addition for Manly. I think Manly wouldn't be in the position that they're in without Fogarty's game management and kicking plan. I think he's actually a better game manager than Daly Cherry Evans. I think Ches is a much more responsive, adaptive player. And that's not unheard of. Most people, they've been asked, Foz and Ches, about their partnership. Foz actually played more like the halfback, and Ches always played more like a 5'8".
Yeah.
So I think we've got a bona fide out-and-out game-managing, kicking, infield kicking playmaker with Fogarty. And it's really unfortunate because I think his season's been excellent and it's going to be undermined by his goal kicking, which is not necessarily a halfback's job. But his goal kicking is at 70%, at best 72%. He's behind Chanel Harris-Tavita and Adam Pompey, who are 2 of the worst goal kickers in the competition at the moment.
Terrible.
So there's something really damning there for Fogarty with his goal kicking. And it's really it sucks as a Manly fan because he's actually playing fantastically as a halfback. But that's where Manly are missing it. That points differential should have them in the top 4.
It's funny what week is such a long time in footy. Like I look back and when we had our conversation about Manly, and I went on the record and said, you know what? I actually, from what I've seen, I actually believe that if they make finals, they can have a genuine push.
Yeah.
I completely do not feel that way anymore, and at all. I'm more in line with what you were. You were very strong on the position that it was an over-index.
Yeah, it was.
I felt like it definitely was, but I was seeing enough where I'm like, no, I kind of think they'll have a crack. Now I'm like, I don't know if they've.
We were just 1 or 2 injuries away from that happening,
and we're there.
So we're there.
Yeah. And if, like you said, they lose to Titans,
that'd be the season cooked.
Season done. On to something a little bit more, so we don't rag on a team for a second. The Sharks versus Knights, a really big examination game.
This is awesome. I reckon this is the game of the round for a few reasons. Both teams have had very different journeys into where they found themselves right now in the ladder. So the Sharks were quite inconsistent, then they had a good month where they won 4 or 5 straight. And then Nicho Hynes came back in, and we know that the Hynes-Trindle combo has been this sort of sometimes excellent, sometimes terrible combination for the Sharks. They obviously pulled off an amazing victory against the Dolphins. That means Nicho's in high confidence. But there's always the question mark of the Sharks. They can make a prelim, but can they ever be a actual contender for the premiership? On the other hand, no one thought the Knights would have any kind of season. No one thought they were anywhere.
Yeah.
And now that they've been one of the best try-scoring teams in the competition. But the state of the game has changed. The refereeing has become much more lenient when blowing set restarts or giving set restarts. So their type of footy, that expansive footy and make a bunch of errors, miss a bunch of tackles, but just score as many tries as you can, isn't possible anymore. They have to adapt their game plan. Now, their form line's been okay, but now they come up against the Rabbitohs, the Sharks, and I think the Roosters or another team that's in there. So this is their examination on not if they've had a good season, they've had an excellent season. It's an examination of if they can be a top 4 team. If they can come through these 3 games on top, at least 2 out of 3 wins, then they're really a contender for the premiership. If they don't, they're probably going to make top 8, and it's congratulations on a great season. But this game is crucial for both. The Sharks should win this game. If they're a contender, they should win it. For the Knights, it's more like, if we win this, we're proving, hey, we have a real shot.
Yep.
But this is a game the Knights should win. This is why it's an examination. Are the Sharks as good as we think? And then on the other side, are the Knights better than anyone thought?
Very well put. Again, it's just beautiful to listen to.
Thank you, man.
I think that, look, in the same way that we are making a call on Manly's season based on how they perform against the Titans, I genuinely believe we'll learn everything from how they about the Sharks with how they handle Newcastle this week. My thing is that, and Drew pointed this out to me, I can't take credit for it, Hines and Trindle have been the best halves in the pairing in the comp by try assists.
Yes, they have been. Yeah,
far and away.
Scoring a lot of tries. Yeah, they're producing a lot of try.
And I think that, Hines is, he had his 30-point game. It's the most in club history.
Mm-hmm.
He's in great form. My thing is that my observation of Nico is that he is at his best when he is not in like the pressure cooker or like all the attention's not on him.
Mm-hmm.
Not being a rep in contention for rep footy this year has done wonders for him.
Certainly helped him.
It means that he's allowed to go out there and just perform. The Sharks have kind of gone under the radar a lot. Would you agree?
Yeah, they have. Yeah, but they now they're in top 4. They're going to get attention on them. So can they handle it?
This is where I think if you were a betting man and you want to bet against the Sharks, now's the time, because when the switch flips and suddenly he's in the spotlight, and now he officially is. Like he's done the rounds. We know that that outside noise affects him.
Yeah.
He notices it, he clocks it, and it actually has a noticeable impact on his game and how he plays. What happens now over the next several games is really going to tell you everything.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's an examination not only of the Sharks, but of Nico Hines being the general of this team.
Yeah.
I guess if I was the Sharks, I'd probably put the media ban on him. Try and get him away from the narrative.
Great call. That is a good call.
The Bulldogs do that for Galvin, so he's been able to develop and perform well without any scrutiny. In fact, he's really only been grilled by the press at New South Wales camp when that ban couldn't exist. So I think the same was for Latrell to begin the season. I think, why don't they just do it? I mean, it's kind of a confirmation that he may be mentally fragile when it comes to that kind of pressure.
Yeah.
But who cares? Look after him. That's my thought. I love Nico. I'm a huge fan of him. So I want him to do well. I think not being in the spotlight is to his advantage. So I think the Sharks should take that away from him.
It's a good call. It's very delicate, though, because it's like the second you do that, like
you're saying he's weak, which I think is I would have
just head noise.
That was my first off the cuff thought. I would need to process more, and you'd want to be collaborative with them. I just think there's a benefit of taking some attention away from them and put Toby Rudolph in front of the cameras. Put some guys that are just going to make things, bring some personality, so you're winning affection to the team, and let the players who are really influencing the results just focus on their footy.
I think.
Can you do it? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see, and we'll know this round. I mean, this is a true test.
Yeah,
and we'll see if he's got that mental fortitude. The history would say that he struggles with this.
Yeah,
and so I'm uncertain, but
and that's fair enough. It's fair enough to be uncertain. Should we jump into some odds, mate?
Let's get into the odds, unless you want to talk about Rooster Storm.
Rooster Storm, it's going to be a good game.
Nice.
I guess we're running the clock, so we better.
We technically already covered both of them anyway.
We did, yeah.
They're both great teams.
Bellamy is Robbo's kryptonite, was my point.
And Storm may or may not make a top 8. So we'll find out. We'll find out how they go this weekend. Let's get straight into some odds. A few juicy matchups that we've got this round, and the odds are looking pretty good for some of them.
Yeah.
I want to focus on some of the teams that we've been talking about. First one being the Dolphins-Cowboys game. Now, this is obviously a historic loss for the Dolphins. Usually, we're looking for a bounce back.
Yeah.
And so I kind of feel like that's on the cards against the Cowboys as well as they've been playing.
Yeah.
I do have Cowboys on a little bit of a backslide to on the run home here. That's just my personal opinion. What do you think from a matchup perspective and an odds perspective we should be looking at?
Well, I think the Dolphins are still a top 4 side. I've got them in the top 4. They've got the best back 3 in the comp. Last week, you just flush it. That was just a misnomer. They had their stars out. They're a team in form. Cowboys are known to leak points. I think you've got to take the Dolphins at the line. You've got 3 of the best back 3 in the comp. So I'd go either Selwyn Cobbo or Jermaine Asako to score a try, and then also Hamiso or Herbie Farnworth to score a try. That will bring you in to odds at $2.50. For me, that they're going to do it. They're going to cover that line easily. They're going to win. Those back three are going to score tries. And Herbie's when he's on a rampage, you can't stop him.
No, that's definitely right. So you'd be looking at Dolphins -4.5, and then you've got Cobbo or Asako, A or B.
Yep.
And then the last line would be Hammer or Herbie, A or B.
Correct.
250.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yep.
That's a doozy.
What else we got?
Well, I'm thinking. I'm a narrative guy.
Yeah. It's a narrative bet.
It's a narrative bet. I'm looking at the Bulldogs versus Tigers.
Yes.
I've seen enough.
Galvin Luai clash.
I've seen enough now. I think that Luai's a little bit down on confidence probably, and we've seen that in some of his performances. And he hasn't really been the bounce back guy so much. He had that really crazy game a couple of weeks ago where he had the hat trick, and that was one. But then he's had more not bounce back ones off of turmoil than he has. I think that this is one for the Bulldogs to snag. I think you could take them head to head.
Yeah.
I think total score, sort of the under 45.5. And then Jacob Carraz or Jethro Rinakama to score A or B. That's 375. Pretty juicy.
Yeah. Great value there. Dogs should definitely win this game.
They've got to win this game.
They haven't got the same kind of media pressure.
No.
And Crichton might even play.
Yeah. I hope he does. And I think, Galvin's.
Also, bringing in Sean O'Sullivan is what I've wanted all year. So
I agree.
Yeah,
I'm a huge.
It's a great advantage to have Sauce in there.
And then the last one, this is, we talked about Sharks versus Knights. And, I know we have Sharks top 4 and all of us have Knights top 6. I think both of us have that. But this is the game that the Sharks need to kind of prove themselves, really, the true test. I actually think that this is probably, if there was a game for them to drop and Nico to kind of sort of go back into his shell a little bit, it could be this one.
Yeah. I know the Sharks are at home.
Yes.
And the Knights lost last week. But that, for me, I think there's when you have that massive win, it's hard to emulate or reproduce that kind of effort.
That magic.
So it could go the other way. They could be really high flying. I just think when you look at that Knights back line, now Fletcher Sharp's back in at 6, not playing centre. I think you've got to give them a red hot crack that they could really turn up here. And so I'm going to go the head-to-heads, mate. I'll be going the Knights.
I got the Knights head-to-head too at 250. I think that's great odds. I think even better value is probably taking a +5.5 at the line for the Knights at $1.95.
Yep.
Also pretty juicy, and that head start, it'll be probably a close game. It could be a 4-point game, really. And so I don't mind that too. But yes, I'm taking the Knights myself.
Go Newcastle. I know Newcastle fans are upset that I even dared suggest that they wouldn't have the same form line. But I think they're still going pretty good.
And we'll see. We'll see what happens this week. But I think there are 3 bets for this round.
Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. As always, do what the algorithm likes. Like, subscribe, share, follow. Do what you need to do. Share it with a mate. We're grateful for everyone. We've been blown away by the audience.
Yeah.
And so if you've got any ideas, feel free to drop them in the comments. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. See you next week.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website